Joseph, CEO of a distinguished tech company, opted to assess the integrity of his staff incognito, posing as an ordinary customer. Accidentally leaving his wallet at home, he anticipated how his team would handle his apparent dilemma. Unexpectedly, the situation took a surprising turn when he witnessed Cameron, a diligent young employee, spring into action. Cameron's subsequent actions were so remarkable that Joseph found himself staggered, struggling to maintain composure. Standing at the cash register, Joseph was filled with disbelief. He had just informed Cameron of his forgotten wallet, expecting a reaction. Instead of refusing service, Cameron's response astonished him. "Are you serious?" Joseph inquired, met with a puzzled expression from Cameron. Of course, Cameron affirmed, seamlessly resuming his duties. Joseph felt lightheaded. This encounter veered far from his expectations. With his true identity still concealed, he hoped Cameron would comprehend the situation's gravity. As Joseph contemplated, he realized the unforeseen nature of the encounter presented a difficult decision. If only Cameron grasped the circumstances, Joseph mused, the outcome could vary significantly. The CEO needed a moment to collect his thoughts, pondering a decision he hadn't anticipated. Reflecting on Cameron's actions, Joseph wondered about the reasons behind his own guise as a customer and the subsequent course of action once Cameron recognized the absence of Joseph's wallet. The challenge ahead weighed heavily on Joseph's mind, prompting careful consideration of his next steps. Happy Day Coffee had been Joseph's pride and joy for many years. It had grown from one simple coffee shop to a business with many different locations. It was a lot to keep track of, especially with how many employees he had. Luckily, all of his coffee shops were doing well, at least except for one. Happy Day Coffee in Illinois seemed to have a lot less profit than his other chains. Joseph had tried to figure out how that could be. He had his suspicions, but he couldn't act on them without proof. That's why he decided to visit the coffee shop and experience its operations firsthand. His assistant, aware of his plan, expressed doubts but still helped him with his disguise, including a mustache and darker hair. Borrowing her car, he parked in front of the shop, his heart racing as he arrived, hoping not to be recognized. The bustling shop had a line outside, prompting him to join. Inside, everything appeared well managed, with satisfied customers and a warm atmosphere. Sitting at a table, Joseph ordered from a server named Cameron and observed the environment. Despite the apparent success, he remained puzzled about the shop's low profits. While waiting for the bill, Joseph thought about visiting other Happy Day Coffee locations, but something caught his eye. An employee seemed to be acting strangely behind the counter. Joseph watched and took notes in his notebook. When Cameron returned with the bill, Joseph was ready to explain about his forgotten wallet, but there was a problem at the cash register, and Cameron had to deal with it first, putting Joseph's issue on hold. Watching Cameron handle the situation so well made Joseph admire him even more, but he also worried about how to handle his own situation. Deciding to speak up, Joseph approached the register. But before he could, he heard employees talking about their wages. Then, Cameron called him forward, leaving Joseph torn between addressing their concerns and explaining his forgotten wallet. As Joseph stood before Cameron, he struggled to balance what he had learned about employee grievances with his own problem. Admitting his forgotten wallet only added to the tension, especially with Cameron's unreadable expression. When Cameron stepped away, leaving Joseph to think, his inner conflict grew. Curiosity and concern led Joseph to sneak into the back room, where he overheard Cameron talking about charitable initiatives. Impressed by Cameron's actions, Joseph left just as another employee entered, giving him cover for his unexpected presence. Joseph followed the employee's directions to the bathroom, using the time to solidify his cover story. Returning to the register, he found Cameron waiting, their interaction now imbued with a deeper understanding. Cameron acknowledged the unusual situation with empathy, offering a solution to Joseph's forgotten wallet dilemma. Wary of crossing professional boundaries, Joseph gently steered the conversation away from personal favors. After a brief struggle, Cameron proposed a solution that intrigued Joseph, leading them to the break room marked employees only. Cameron's playful smile hinted at an unconventional resolution as he suggested Joseph work off his coffee through dishwashing. Joseph hesitated, caught between astonishment and consideration. The tension in the room thickened, awaiting Joseph's response. Suddenly, Cameron burst into laughter, the sound filling the small room. "I'm just kidding," he exclaimed, clapping Joseph on the back. The tension dissolved, though Joseph was left with a mix of relief and lingering uncertainty. Cameron's joke had lightened the mood, but Joseph couldn't shake off the feeling that this day had taken him on an unexpected journey far beyond what he had planned. While the laughter faded, Joseph's eagerness to settle the payment issue without further jest was evident. He straightened up, signaling his readiness to move past the humor and find a real solution. Cameron, catching on to Joseph's mood, nodded understanding. The shift back to the matter at hand was necessary. Joseph couldn't hide his frustration about the delay caused by joking around. He liked a good joke, but the situation was important. He told Cameron he needed a serious solution, hoping Cameron would understand how urgent it was. They talked about fixing the payment problem for real. Cameron, now knowing how much Joseph wanted things sorted out, came up with a plan that seemed to fit the situation. Joseph listened closely, hoping this talk would finally solve the problem. He was curious to see how things would end up after this unplanned test of honesty. Finally, Cameron spoke seriously. "Forget about paying for the coffee," he said, ignoring the bill completely. This surprising solution caught Joseph's attention even more. It showed there was more to Cameron than Joseph realized, and it explained some of the choices he made at the coffee shop. This decision made Cameron talk about how he helps the local homeless shelter. He explained that for every coffee sold, he gives one to someone in need. Joseph was fascinated by this unexpected revelation. As they talked more, Cameron shared how he makes sure the extra coffee gets to those who need it. This showed not only how kind Cameron was, but also how the coffee shop's profits were used to help others. Joseph started to see the whole picture. He understood that the lower profits were because Cameron chose to help the homeless, even if it meant less money for the shop. This showed how much Cameron cared about the community. Seeing Joseph's understanding, Cameron talked more about why he does what he does. He spoke about his values and how he wants to make a difference for people who have less. This conversation showed Joseph a different side of Cameron, revealing how much he genuinely cares about helping others. Joseph, profoundly moved by Cameron's selfless actions, began to reconsider his earlier doubts about the shop's performance. The revelation of Cameron's charity work forced Joseph to see beyond mere numbers, acknowledging the invaluable impact of giving back to the community. Feeling a strong connection to Cameron's principles, Joseph decided it was time to reveal his true identity. "I'm actually the CEO of Happy Day Coffee," he admitted, watching closely for Cameron's reaction. This moment of truth marked a turning point in their conversation, bridging the gap between employer and employee. Cameron's response was a complex blend of surprise and worry. The shock of learning Joseph's true identity quickly gave way to concern over what this revelation might mean for the shop's charitable actions. Would this new understanding compromise the initiative he held so dear? Joseph found himself deeply considering the delicate balance between running a profitable business and fulfilling social responsibilities. Cameron's dedication to the community had ignited a spark in Joseph, prompting him to reevaluate the company's priorities and how they could genuinely make a difference. Motivated by Cameron's example, Joseph resolved to support and integrate the Coffee for the Homeless initiative into Happy Day Coffee's broader mission. He saw this as an opportunity to redefine the company's impact, aligning business success with social contribution and laying the groundwork for a future where profit and purpose could coexist harmoniously. Joseph decided to involve Cameron directly in expanding the charity work at Happy Day Coffee. This was a big change for the company. They wanted to mix making money with helping others, setting a new way for the company to do things in the future. By supporting the charity work, Joseph showed that Happy Day Coffee really cared about giving back to the community. It wasn't just words. They promised to help with every cup of coffee they sold, showing how much they wanted to help. Cameron, joining in the charity work, showed that his efforts were noticed and valued. He became even more important in the company, leading the way in the charity work. This showed how one person's actions can change a company for the better. Joseph and Cameron working together became a great example of how a company and its employees can do good things together. They showed how being kind and caring can be a big part of doing business. This showed other businesses how they can do the same, making a real difference in the world. Happy Day Coffee's story ended with a new way of doing business that included helping others as a core part of what they did. This big decision changed who they were as a company. It also inspired other companies to think about how they can help others while still being successful, making a positive impact in their communities.